Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 293. Today is Patch Day, at least if you live in the NA region or if you play in the NA region. For EU, we gotta wait for another day, but it's still a great day to just talk about all the things that you should be aware of, to know what you should jump into, what is available, and what you can expect very soon. And it's also a very nice date, the 22nd of the second month, February, in 2022. So it's a lot of twos. A lot of twos everywhere. Also, the time is 10:22 right now, at least for me in EU. Um,
Tuesday.
oh, and it's a Tuesday. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Nice one. But yeah, let's jump into things and talk about the new patch. Or let me first introduce myself. My name is Annie, or also known as Annie Fuchsia, and I'm a full time streamer on Twitch. And I do this show weekly with my lovely co host, Perculio.
I'm Perk. I run Wowhead. Very busy time getting all of our 9.2 guides live. Thanks for all your support leading up to this patch. And yeah, it's fun to do the show and share what we've been working on at Wowhead, as well as highlight the most popular articles and discussions. So obviously 9.2 is going to be a big topic for us, but we also had some unexpected news like the paid character transfer bundles available and the surprise return of the Blizzard Gear Shop. So
Yep,
yeah, why don't
indeed.
we just jump in with patch 9.2? We can talk about some highlights. I know if you've seen the show before during the PTR, it might be a little repetitive, but we also know a lot of people are returning, so we'll just highlight some of like the big features, and you can decide like if you want to,
Mm-hmm.
check it out.
It's nice to be reminded as well, even if you've been told before. Sometimes it's nice to just be reminded, so that you know what to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, first up, we have a new zone, of course, Zarath Mortis. And there is a lot of things to do there. It's the new place to be. And one of the really nice news is that it doesn't look as boring as Korthia does. It actually looks beautiful. So that's one thing that I actually am a really big fan of, the fact that we're getting a nice and colorful area to go to. Because that alone can sometimes be, deciding factor if you wanna if you wanna play or not. Um,
It's like Nagrand, but also very like Titan themed and kind of
yeah,
mystical, very
yeah,
bright, very
yeah,
different from the Maw. So
yeah,
yeah, it's nice getting a change of scenery.
yeah. Because when the mob first was introduced, I liked it, and I thought it was cool, especially
Mm.
with that effect that you had with the ranks going up and then it becoming deadly at max level of
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
But then with the Korthia patch, that was gone, it was removed, and then we got the new area Korthia, which basically was just an extension of the moss. So it was not exciting at all. It was
Mm.
just a little copy paste from certain areas of the Maw and added some new NPCs there. But Zarath Mortis is, it's like it's a fresh zone. It feels good. It looks nice.
Yeah, and a lot of like the mounts and pets and things you can collect from it have a distinctive aesthetic as well, with kind of this like prototype Titan theme, how they resemble creatures from our world, but they're a little more like glowier and unfinished than you know the
Mm-hmm.
things that we're used to.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so should we jump into talking about some of the things you can do on
Yeah, let's
Zarath
do that.
Mortis?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of stuff in the patch, but there aren't very many like seasonal PvE things to do this first week besides stuff on Zarath Mortis.
Mm-hmm.
So
Not really
for
PvP either, right? Like,
right.
in general, the season hasn't properly started,
No.
but there are still a few things that you may want to do, and that's
Yeah.
what could be
So
interesting
you
to
should
mention.
unlock Zarath Mortis.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then you should work on your enlightened reputation. There is a quest available twice per week, patterns within patterns, and you do a bunch of stuff in Zarath Mortis, and then doing that gets you rep with the enlightened, which you need for working on your double legendaries and stuff in patch 9.2. You
Mm-hmm.
should also work on unlocking the Cipher of the First One system, because you can unlock your Pokepock to help you in Zarath Mortis, and it also lets you unlock things like the crafting system to make a bunch of collectible mounts and pets.
Yeah, a
So
bunch of fun stuff.
that first week, complete the first 3 chapters of the campaign, get to Zarath Mortis, um, do your patterns within patterns, and I want to emphasize again, it resets every 3 days, so don't be like, oh, I'll put it off until like, Sunday, because you'll miss
Good
the
point to
reset.
make. Yeah.
And then start the cipher system so you can do more cool stuff on Zarath Mortis.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you don't need to rush to do it now, but you eventually can fly on Zarath Mortis. It requires a Covenant campaign step that is not yet available, but you can work on other things now, like looting treasures, exploring the zone, all the other usual stuff that is part of the flying meta achievement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so things that come naturally as you just explore the
Yeah.
zone, killing rares, looting chests, like you said. So it's pretty straightforward, and you can definitely knock those off before the flying becomes available in itself. Because as that campaign opens up, if you have everything else done, that means you'll get it immediately.
Yeah. And if you're like, okay, what else is on Zarath Mortis? There is also if you care about the progression stuff, um, Zarath Mortis is the place where you can obtain the material needed to make Vestige of the Eternal, which is the optional crafting reagent that allows you to upgrade basic legendaries to rank 7. And that has a chance to be rewarded from things like the Zarath Mortis bi-weekly quest or treasures across the zone. And Zarath Mortis is also an important source of cosmic flux, which is, a reagent also needed to create the rank 7 legendaries, as well as upgrading tier pieces when the creation catalyst system becomes available. And that, again, is from lots of things like daily quests, that special bi weekly quest we were just
Mm-hmm.
talking about, uh, rare mobs, repeatable treasures, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a bunch of rare spawns and treasures, as usual, that, have some interesting things in them. There are some mounts available, there are some like interesting schematics, there are costumes for your Pokepox, so, the usual range of interesting, fun,
Mm-hmm.
collectible things. Um, and yeah, something we should take a second to highlight also is the protoform synthesis system. I don't know if we had any. I don't think we have. I don't. The guy doesn't have pictures, but
Yeah, no real
basically, this is
pictures.
like a
Mm-hmm.
special. You can get tons of mounts and pets through this system,
Mm-hmm.
and you unlock it through doing cipher of the first ones, um, and you can get special reagents and craft a bunch of things. So if you're someone that doesn't like the RNG of mounts and pets, and you want things that look, a little like more different and Titan like, um, this is a great system for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, it seems like it'll definitely keep people busy for a while
Mm-hmm.
as well. And it's nice how all of these items are just like fun collectibles, and it's not
Yeah.
like 90% collectibles, but then it's like, oh, and you need to, do this if you want like, like
Legendary
a
or something.
legendary or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Um,
confirmed to not have any player power, right? It's just
yeah.
vanity stuff.
Yeah. And I know during the PTR there was some confusion about like, does the cipher isn't tied to player power, and then some people thought that was like all of Zarath Mortis wasn't tied to player power, and it's like, well, no, like you have to do something to, work on legendaries or, tier things. But yeah, the whole cipher system
Mm-hmm.
and the protoform synthesis is not tied to player power. But obviously, like, when you do like your bi-weekly quests or
The zone
kill
itself.
rares,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like you get stuff in the zone that is always tied to player power.
Mm-hmm.
So Um, but yeah, so that's one of the that's the main thing that you can start working on this week. Zarath Mortis and then the Enlightened faction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and start the research. And then in future weeks, starting the week of March 1st, the raid becomes available on normal and heroic difficulty. Not the entire raid, though, just the first 8 bosses through Anduin.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And to
yeah,
remind
so.
people, the last 3 bosses are still secret, so
Mm,
we don't really know what to expect. It's going to be a new experience, which is something that we don't really see with World of Warcraft. Normally, everything is tested publicly, so it's an interesting new thing that we're gonna try, and guess we'll see how that turns out.
yeah, it's not even like, oh, we didn't test the end boss last phase on Mythic. It's like, we just straight up didn't test the
Yeah.
last 3 bosses at all. They
Mm-hmm.
want to keep them in secrecy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it will definitely be interesting because normally when the Race to World first starts,
Mm-hmm.
like the casting commentary is always really good, but the early bosses can seem like a, snooze fest. Like they
Yep.
just die really quickly, but
Yep.
the start of the race should still be really interesting because while progression guilds will be, clearing the early bosses on Mythic, other guilds will be killing the final 3 bosses on heroic and normal for the first time so we can actually see what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of having a few days of like just seeing the same bosses like die really fast on mythic, it's we people will be able to be discussing like the lore reveal of like seeing the jailer die and like his cinematic and cool things that have been purposely kept hidden from us. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that pacing is interesting. Obviously, so, what do you think about the bosses not being tested? Because, like, obviously, we don't want to see, bugs in front of,
Exactly.
thousands of players.
Yeah, so there's obviously that problem of potential bugs, but the thing is, we still get issues and bugs even when it has been tested. So
Yeah.
I feel like maybe it can't get worse. I don't know. The idea of not being able to know, or the idea of not knowing what's going to happen, I think is a positive. I think it's interesting, and it's like the mystery around it, together with like excitement of not knowing what to expect. I think it's a really exciting thing. Um, if I don't know if Blizzard will be able to pull it off, since I'm not sure how much of internal testing they've done, if it's going to be enough. But I do hope that they have done it, because in general, I think it's a great path to take for future raids.
I do think that if they're going to go the route of not having the guilds tested on the PTR, that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they have this, but it's always really important to have people watching around the clock. So if a guild hits um, a bug and, it's not during US hours, they don't feel like they, lost hours of progress because someone at
True.
Blizzard from the US is, asleep for a while.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because we already have enough of a debate with the whole US versus EU start time, and you don't
Yeah.
need things like, oh well, like, yeah, we got an earlier start, but then like this was broken for 4 hours for us, but when you got to it, it was only broken for 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, you don't want something to look super buggy on the screen and then it gets like memed, or people
Yeah.
are very hypercritical of like Blizzard quality and polish dropping since the
Mm-hmm.
lawsuit. So then it's like, oh, look at this unfinished game, type of deal. But overall, I mean, we've said before that we think that a lot of the story stuff should be kept a secret. And I think that in the spirit of that, it's good Blizzard's trying that with the raid bosses that are, the significant bosses.
Yeah. Indeed.
And yeah, I mean, if you are unfamiliar with the PTR cycle, in the March 1st week, it ends with Anduin as the 8th boss, and we don't know what really happens when the Anduin encounter is over, so probably a surprise cinematic there. And then there are 3 more bosses, including the jailer as the final boss. In
Mm-hmm.
all the preview images, he's standing in front of this kind of like ominous Azerite type thing. So,
Yeah.
you know, since he might be
What does
related to
that
that.
mean? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's always like the final boss, like sort of always has like a weird twist into what comes next, like Gul'dan, escaping through the portal, or Sargeras putting the sword in Azeroth. There's always like a transitional hint as to
Mm-hmm.
what comes with the next expansion, which is
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, which sort of as like a side note, I feel like we don't know what's next. Like, I
Yeah.
remember with Legion going into BFA, we learned about 7-3 at Gamescom.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learned about BFA's existence at um at BlizzCon, and that was like before Antorus opened, I'm pretty sure. Um like it was we
Yeah.
learned when Antorus was opening a
Like
few
before
weeks
the
later,
last
and
patch. Yeah.
yeah, so with this it's like we don't know what's happening uh when the jailer is defeated or harnesses that, beam of yellow energy behind him, or says, reveals his grand plans finally. We don't know what's coming next. All
Yeah.
we know is that there is a 9 to 5 that was teased, and that's when the cross faction grouping is coming. But yeah,
I
we
guess
don't know.
that's where they're gonna put their timing. Like the 925 will kind of be treated like a 93, but like a mini version of it. So when just
Yeah.
before that comes out, that's when we'll hear about 10.0.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely interesting because we have that Sylvanas book that's timed to come out uh in mid March,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I assume when they think Mythic Jailer, will be defeated, and more of the campaign chapters are available, and I assume that book will like fill in some of the plot gaps with her story, and
Mm-hmm.
give some of her mysterious cinematics like more emotion, more context. Um
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, maybe they want us to appreciate the Sylvana story and like soak that up first, and let her have her moment before we hear about the next thing. It's definitely interesting though, how
Mm-hmm.
we didn't have a BlizzCon, so we don't really know what's coming next at this point, and
Yeah.
normally we have something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe it's fine. Like maybe we're just meant to appreciate the story and be in the moment now, instead of like trying to figure out how, like,
Yeah, I
the
mean, in a
old
way, it
story
is
that's now
better.
boring. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
so I mean, it's maybe not the worst thing. I think just people are impatient because they feel they've been waiting so long for 9-2.
Yeah, I think
You
it's
know,
a lot to do with the timing of, the past year just being very slow with content in general. Because if you look at
mm,
the number, like the amount of time spent, then, it has been so long with no news, no new content. So that's why people are eager to hear about 10.0. But in general, I think it's quite natural to wait until the last patch before you mention the next expansion. So I don't think it's too weird in theory, but yeah, it hasn't felt that great in terms of the content gap the past year.
yeah, I also think that it would make sense if they announced something sooner than later, like not waiting until 925, because like February going into March is really packed with a lot of game releases, and a lot of people are like, oh well, do I how much do I subscribe to WoW? Like, do I is this going to be my primary game? I have to prioritize, there's so many games going on. So
Yeah.
I think definitely people want more news instead of less news for this.
Mm-hmm.
um But yeah, going back to Sepulcher, something that is exciting with season 3, and you can get some of these tokens from the raid, are the Progenitor class armor sets, aka the return of tier sets.
Yeah.
These are different from the old sets in that you can work towards getting them not just from boss drops, but also PvP and mythic dungeons, and eventually this catalyst system if you're super unlucky. And but like tier sets, they have 2 and 4 piece bonuses, and they have a class themed look. We've discussed these in the past. Some are more successful than others. They kind of look like statuesque, sort of abstract versions of iconic class silhouettes, because they all have these like white, sort of unfinished elements mixed in with
Yep.
like gold,
Yep.
kind of like someone was carving like like a druid tree from stone, and it didn't fully come to life yet.
Yeah.
Which is a cool concept in theory, but some color combos work better for some classes than others.
Yeah, I think the colors definitely made some classes lose their identity in many ways. I
Yeah.
wish that they didn't stick to these colors.
Mm.
They could have. I don't think they even should have stuck with the models being so Titan like. But if they wanted to go that route, I think they should have been a bit more free with color choices. And we notice especially like on a warlock, for example,
Mm.
having like white and gold and red, and especially when the white is dominant, it feels more like a priest. So
Yeah, or even like the mage and priest felt a
mage as
little
well, yeah,
interchangeable as well.
yeah,
Like priest I could see, but
yeah.
like mage
Priest
and
is
warlock,
okay,
it's just like yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. They definitely
but
should have had more freedom with colors.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny because when you compare it to the mage tower returning, how people were so hyped to get a recolor of
Yeah,
a
like those sets
set
were a lot
initially
nicer.
from like
Yeah,
Black Temple, just because it's like, oh, like I want the like shadow version of my preset. I got my white one from the raid, and I want my purple one from the mage tower. Like I want my arcane mage tint of my mage set. Like a lot of the
mm-hmm,
colors were themed after certain specs,
mm-hmm,
and were more like visible class fantasy.
mm-hmm.
Um,
I mean, like tier
yeah,
3 has been a huge fan, or has been
definitely.
a huge favorite for a long, long time. Why don't we get like a new upres version of that? Like
Yeah.
the Mage Tower transmog that came back was an updated version of an old one. So if they
Mm,
could do it then, they could do it again with a set that's really popular.
yeah. So you will be able to start getting these tier set activities not this week, but in the future. And
Mm-hmm.
then going again through the patch notes, something else. We have season 3, and which is also coming. Not this week, but in the future, and that includes things like the new Brawl Solos Shuffle, new Arena Maldraxxus Coliseum, the new mounts you can collect, like the Vicious Croaker, and then the new Mythic Plus Dungeon Affix Encrypted.
Mm-hmm.
And we have many guides to all these things, with more updates coming on the way for all of these topics, which I'm sure we'll highlight next week on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just continuing to scroll down through the patch notes. We have the Dark Moon Dance competition, which has actually really cool music. I don't think we highlighted it on the show, but there's like a remix of the Lion's Pride in music that is really good. That's I
Ah.
believe part of the mini game. So a lot of people were almost like, "Oh, is this going to be part of some like Azeroth, revamp?" Old zones getting updated because the
Updated.
music was really cool. So
Mm-hmm.
um and then the final thing Blizzard highlighted in their patch notes before the massive list of class changes was how there's new pets, mounts, and achievements. And we actually just got a new 9.2 mounts guide up today. Angelin worked on it that lists all of the new mount additions. There are 41 mounts in Shadowlands, most from Protoform Synthesis, and we have pictures of all of them. I don't know if you highlighted any to show, but I just wanted to like look through and see if there was any I thought were particularly interesting.
I did a
I think
few.
for
Mm-hmm.
okay, yeah, go ahead.
I was showing a few as we were talking about it,
Oh,
but you
okay.
can go ahead as well.
Yeah. I was gonna say that I think that the Talbook, the stag with the white horns, looks really cool. Um, and the jellyfish.
Yeah, that
Uh,
this one.
I
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just like how it's like spectral, but then it has the armor on its tentacles. I think the jellyfish looks really awesome, and there's several colors of the jellyfish. Um, and then the frogs are also fun as well, how they're armored. So I think that they do a good job with these mounts of like making them be recognizable, but also show that they're like you know
Mm-hmm.
a little different than what you expect. And then of course, you have the season 3 mounts, which I'm a little you know, some I'm a little I think that the jailer mount could look a little different. Like they look very Titan-esque, but not exactly like, I don't know, jailer themed. But they do look cool. Like the mythic jailer mount kind of looks like a, I don't know, like StarCraft hover thing. But it doesn't really scream jailer. Like the colors are very first ones, not jailer.
Mm-hmm.
Um but yeah, 41 mounts. Um and
Also, this
yeah.
bird here, this
Mhm.
was um, this was sharing a model with one of the store mounts as well, right?
The like the warlords one, or oh wait, I know what you
The
mean.
blue
It's the
one.
one, yeah, the blue one. Yeah, the Pokemon one.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
I don't think
Articuno,
they've
yeah.
done that before, where they add a model from the store into the game as well. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's definitely like a very advanced looking model.
Mm-hmm.
You get a cool silhouette. I mean the store one you could say has interesting colors, but I think it's kind of cool to get like a rusty red colored bird that's got these abstract looking feathers. I think that it definitely,
Mm-hmm.
holds up. Um, so yeah, I do think that a lot of these mounts are cool. I think the jellyfish is my favorite. Um, like it's just so like
Wait, which
over
one
the
is the
top.
jellyfish? I'm not sure if I saw that one.
Um, if you go down to like cryptic orlid or deep star polyp, I can
Mm-mm-mm.
add a picture to the notes. Uh, so yeah, that's one of the jellyfish.
Oh, I missed that. That looks good.
I just like even
I
zooming in,
like
just
it.
how it has like the ball in the center with the
Yeah, yeah,
runes on it.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it just
this
looks
looks
so weird.
cool.
Yeah, I love this one.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I like it too. I missed that one. It looks really good.
yeah. So yeah, I think that one's the coolest. And you can there's like sort of an elaborate way to get one from a rare. Another version is from a meta achievement, and another is from the glory achievement mount. So yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
lots of mounts and pets. Thanks to all the Wowhead users that leave instructions in the comments how to get these, and Anshlin for the detailed guide.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think looking at the notes, we highlighted
Anshin
what to
also
do.
got his he also got his love rocket.
I know. Should we discuss that next?
Uh,
Um,
yeah,
or do you
actually,
want to?
because there
Yeah,
is an update coming, so that's a natural
yeah,
transition there.
yeah. So let's discuss that. Then we can go back to like 9-2 analysis.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but yeah, Anshlin's a Wowhead staffer who's really into mounts, and he has like thousands of love rocket attempts. And
Mm-hmm.
Blizzard, love is in the air is now over, but obviously it's a source of frustration. Annie knows it very well too.
Yep. I
Um,
had over 2,000
and
attempts.
yeah, it is the rarest drop rate mount in WoW. Um, and Blizzard has finally made a blue post saying that we agree it's not fun. Um, and it's not a great experience if you have to make a billion alts to maximize your chances at getting it. And they ended by saying, we hear this frustration, and the good news is that we're discussing the issue amongst the team and evaluating possible solutions for holiday events in general. The bad news is that even if we do end up making changes, they wouldn't be in time for this year's Love is in the Air holiday event.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So nothing yet, but definitely some kind of update coming.
Yeah, I mean, it seems better than saying, well, like, well, this is always the rare amount, so it has to be the rare amount.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that there's like a happy medium between like an element of surprise and feeling like you have to, do something on like 50 characters every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, but yeah, the drop rate could be increased, or they could, tie a version to a quest, and yeah, it's
Maybe
just
they'll
not
add
fun.
bad luck protection of sorts.
Yeah. Um but yeah, I'm happy Anshlin got his, but it's definitely yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad that Blizzard is finally looking into this. I mean, because it's
Mm-hmm.
also different than other rare mount grinds, because you can only get it try for it a few weeks out of the year.
Yeah. So you have, I think it's 2 weeks, where the
Hmm.
event is going on, and every day you can run it on every character. So at the end of the event, you can run it 14 times. I think maybe there is a
Yeah,
small window there
15.
where you can run it 15 times if you
Yep.
do it right before reset. Um, so 15 times per character, and that's why people are running like 15 plus people. 15 plus tunes, um, or not 15 plus,
Yeah.
so
Let
50
me see if
plus
I
even.
can.
I think Anshin has
Yeah.
7,000 tries on it.
Yeah, I'm actually just pulling up his Twitter to see what he was saying. Um yeah, he has over 7,200 attempts over 13 years, and nearly 3,000 attempts this past year.
Yep. Just crazy. It
Yeah,
shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that.
right. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad Blizzard's looking into it, and it's just sort of a like meditation on like what is actually fun, and should we just keep doing things how we've always done it, or
Mm-hmm.
should we try to revise this to make things more enjoyable for players?
Mm-hmm.
Especially as this came out during a time when lots of other games were coming out, and people just want to do something enjoyable,
Yep.
not do something that feels really grindy. And you could say,
Yeah,
oh well, this was
absolutely.
made in the past, and like WoW has moved on, like people play it differently now, and it's like, well, there are modern games out there that those same WoW players are having more fun with, so you should adjust how you handle grinds like this.
Yeah, because
uh
it's such a short period. It's so limited. It's like even if you really want to run it a lot, you're so limited. It's
yeah,
different if you were able to run it every day at all times, then maybe you could make an argument for the really bad or really
right,
low rarity. But the fact that it's time gated as well just makes it crazy and
yeah,
unrealistic. People who have it are just lucky.
yeah.
um, you
Yeah,
can't work
I'm glad
towards it.
Blizzard made this post on that topic.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be nice if they were more proactive with it, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of feels like a lot of this is happening a bit too late, but it's still good that they're having the conversation in general, and it does seem
Mm-hmm.
to be part of a trend where they are trying to evaluate what's fun, like the cross faction grouping coming
Mm-hmm.
in 925, and some of the other alt friendly mechanics, or walking back some of the backlash they got for the like 9-2 rep grinds or legendary requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So they do seem to be like questioning how they've done things in the past and adjusting it more than usual. So that is definitely a positive thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Um and then going back to 9-2, something we learned about uh right before the show was that paid character transfer bundles are now available, and there is
Mm-hmm.
a special discounted sale on them through March 8th. And previously, Blizzard announced back in October that they were working on bulk character transfers, but they didn't know when. And then
Mm-hmm.
this just popped up in the store today, and it will really help players moving to new realms or joining new guilds that feel they have to transfer multiple characters at once. Which,
Yep.
again, it seems like another like quality of life thing that people have wanted for a while, and
Yeah, because people do tend to
yeah,
do that. They tend to send bulks of characters to play on a different server, and I think having some kind of discount there is good.
yeah. So you can get one for 25, three for 50, or six for 80, and then for a limited time, save an additional 30%. And
Mm-hmm.
also during the sale, um, when you pay for six, you will get eight characters instead.
Mm-hmm.
You can still get the bundles when the sale is over. They are just slightly more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, just seems very positive, moving in the right direction, along with like the love is in the air mount with the cross faction grouping coming, and some other things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a nice surprise that just kind of uh, popped up
Yeah.
as people logged in and saw that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And also, as a note on top of that, is you can also use your gold in game to transfer it to Battle.net
Mhm.
currency. In that way, spend in game currency to send a bunch of characters to a new server if that is something that is interesting for you.
Yeah. So I didn't know. We jumped around a little with the notes. Do we want to
Yeah.
show the survival guide video to people just to be like, here's a recap of everything that's coming, and then like we can discuss like how we think this end patch, lines up to say like Argus or Timeless Isle? Or do you think people have already seen the survival video?
um. Hmm. I'm not sure. I mean, it's a good video to watch. So maybe
Yeah.
we should watch it together.
Yeah, we can
It
do
is a
that.
little bit long. Let's go for it. Why not?
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Let's
So
go
we'll do
for it.
that, and then we'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, so how does this stack up against, like all the other, point 0.2 or point 0.3 patches?
All right, let's do it.
Cool.
Welcome to the World of Warcraft Survival Guide for Eternity's End, the newest content update for Shadowlands. Despite our best efforts, the jailer has escaped his eternal prison. With a dominated Anduin at his side, he stands poised to remake the cosmos according to his vision, annihilating life as we know it. It's up to you and your allies to discover his machinations and halt his efforts. In this survival guide, we'll give you a peek at new content, features, and changes coming with Eternity's End, the final act in the Shadowlands saga, and the upcoming Shadowlands Season 3. We'll offer a deeper look into a whole new zone, an exciting new raid, the return of class sets, and much more. Enter the expansive realm of Zarath Mortis, a strange and otherworldly place tucked away in the fabric of the Shadowlands itself. A massive forge of afterlives created by the First Ones sits at its core and serves to create the domains of the Shadowlands. The Atoma, stewards of this mysterious realm, have built all that exists, but the threat is great as the jailer intends to use the secrets of Zarath Mortis to reshape reality and bend it to his malevolent will. Team up with a curious sidekick, Pokepoke, to delve into the ciphers of the First Ones, a new progression system that guides you through learning the First One's mysterious language. Use what information you glean to uncover the secrets of Zarath Mortis and unlock an array of new zone activities, daily quests, events, pets, mounts, achievements, and more. Completing various activities throughout the zone, such as map exploration, collecting hidden treasures, and finishing a quest storyline will earn you an achievement that allows you to ride your flying mounts in Zarath Mortis. As the story of Eternity's End unfolds, you'll be able to earn the Belt of Unity, a new legendary belt empowered with your Covenant's rune carving effect, which will switch freely alongside your character whenever swapping Covenants. With this legendary belt, you'll have two powerful legendary effects. The Belt of Unity will be rewarded when you complete Chapter 7 of the Zarath Mortis campaign. Complete the campaign and become revered with the Enlightened faction to get access to the Memory of Unity, which will allow you to craft the new Covenant swapping rune carving effect on a different armor slot, or help your other characters get an Enlightened Legendary right away. In the weeks following the launch of Eternity's End, a new 11-boss raid that defies physics will be available. The jailer has breached the powerful Sepulchre of the First Ones to reshape reality and bend it to his will. Gather the strength of your allies as you pursue him into the Sepulchre and fight through his forces, coming face to face with Anduin to discover a way to resist the jailer's terrifying domination magic. Earn the new Progenitor tier set with 2 set bonuses to grant your character new abilities based on your specialization. This set includes 5 pieces: a helm, shoulders, chest piece, gauntlets, and leggings. The first set bonus is unlocked when 2 set pieces are equipped, and the second bonus is unlocked when 4 set pieces are equipped. Build your set by defeating bosses in the Sepulchre of the First One's raid, through all Great Vault activities, or other methods. A new arena beckons would-be champions to test their mettle. For eons, the Necrolords of Maldraxxus honed their craft at the Maldraxxus Coliseum. Now, the arena is open to any challengers. An additional 4 layers will be introduced to Torghast, and existing torments will increase in strength on these new layers. There's also a brand new game mode for Torghast called the Jailer's Gauntlet, where you'll battle your way through a series of increasingly challenging bosses to earn unique rewards. Lots of updates are coming to Mythic Plus in Shadowlands Season 3, including a brand new affix called Encrypted and the Waste-Warped Deathwalker mount for those able to earn the Season 3 Keystone Master achievement. And in PvP, you'll be able to earn the Vicious Warstalker, Vicious War Croaker, and Cosmic Gladiator's Soul Eater. This is just a glimpse of the new content and features that will be ready for you to tackle in the Eternity's End update to World of Warcraft Shadowlands, along with the Shadowlands Season 3 content delivered in the weeks that follow. Keep an eye on worldofwarcraft.com for more details on these features and more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the Shadowlands.
All right.
So while we were watching the survival guide, I was pulling up some old Wowhead guides highlighting zones and patch updates from the final patches of other expansions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it might just be interesting to just sort of compare them a bit and see how this stacks up. I do think that something that's good compared to 8.3 is that we're actually getting a new zone. While 8.3 was critiqued for just having the old zones, 2 zones that were old god themed, and the influence of the old god was limited to 1 patch. So I do think that Zarath Mortis being a full-blown zone that goes into the first one's lore a bit more seems more satisfactory than
more complete. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do think that Horrific Visions was an interesting activity that there wasn't quite an equivalent for with Zarath Mortis, but I also feel that the Old God story was very rushed in BFA, so there's a lot of potential for Horrific Visions that felt kind of all smashed together. That could have been its own patch exploring alternate realities.
Yeah, I think Horrific Visions was really fun, but it became one of those things that was kind of, removed with expansion being gone. So I don't think it's bad if something like that isn't created for this expansion.
Yeah.
Because in general, I think even if it's something fun, if it's something that just lasts for a patch or two, it's probably better to put the resources in something else that actually lasts longer. Because Horrific Visions was also fun, and they could have built on it, but it was
but
left behind.
What wasn't fun that was originally tied to Horrific Visions was the corruption system.
Oh yeah, it became fun later.
Yeah. So I do think that 9.2 does have some benefits in having things like the Cypher and the Pokepok and the the crafting system just being systems that aren't really tied to progression. It's like the anti-corruption going on. So but yeah, I do think that some of the old gods are really hype. So of course a lot of the armor sets and mounts to collect were naturally well liked among players, maybe more so than the first one's lore. It's kind of funny because I feel that the first ones, it's very abstract and it feels so different, so maybe we needed to be slowly eased into it, and that should have gotten a few little zones as a ramp up, while people would have wanted the full-on old god zone that we got in 9.2 instead. like kind of reversing the approaches to things. But
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that Old Gods was like a bit of an easier sell just because it's so cool and like we know who they are again and like they look really cool with all the purple. But the execution floundered a little between the corruption balancing and not really having a like
Mm-hmm.
brand new Old Gods zone to go to, I
Mm-hmm.
think. Um
Even the corruption system was like it wasn't as complicated as many of the other things that are created for just one patch or one expansion. So I think the corruption
mhm.
system would have actually been an okay feature of the expansion if they had just made it more solid from the beginning. If it was not so RNG based, if they had a vendor that was not on rotation, if they had all
Mhm.
those things from the beginning, I think the corruption system was actually pretty cool. Like enchanting your stuff with corruptions. It
Yeah.
wasn't too complicated, and with a vendor you could put it on whichever gear you want to. Um, but yeah, it was
Yeah, it
sad that
ended
it was
up
so RNG based.
it ended up in a place that people found fun.
Yeah, it just should have
And
been like that
even
from the
things
beginning.
like the vendors, like even that was not around at launch, but at the start it did feel a bit rocky.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
um so yeah, I also think that, like the BFA syndrome of like 10 stories and themes shoved together, like we didn't really have much time to see Anduin as a leader without
Mhm.
Sylvanas. Like it's really cool that he, punched Rathian and it seemed to be like you know, debating which path to follow and seeing visions of himself with Shadow, but we didn't really get a lot of like we could have explored Anduin a lot more before he got,
Mhm.
like kidnapped off in Shadowlands. But yeah, so again, I think just 8-3 felt very rushed, with not having the old god zone, corruption not being in like a great place at launch as well. But like the theme was kind of a crowd pleaser.
Mhm.
If we go a little further back to Legion with Shadows of Argus, I feel like this one was super well received.
Yeah,
Like you
it
just
was.
had like it's like you had Illidan and
Mhm.
Ilaria and Turalian, and you got to quest a lot and like see flashbacks of the Draenei's like home before it was corrupted, and
Mhm.
you got the build up to the different allied races that were coming, and Velen even got some story.
Yeah.
Two of the
Mhm.
Windrunner sisters reunited. It was like a I thought this was like just like very solid, very hype, and it uh built up to the hype. I thought it
Yeah.
was really good.
It was really nice with all the characters connecting in that sense as well. And it's funny because Shadowlands has that potential too,
Mm.
but just didn't properly execute it because we have a lot of really cool characters in Shadowlands as well that just weren't really used, like Bolvar, for example. Um, he got this amazing skin and everything, but he just became a quest giver and that's it.
Yeah.
um,
Or like we don't really know a ton about Sylvanas' sisters in Shadowlands, and like they had
yeah,
this the two of them finally reunited in Shadows of Argus, and like that felt really hype. But this, now it's like, well, what are the rest of them doing back on Azeroth? No one has any idea. like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, also with Argus, like we're saying that BFA didn't have that end zone. Shadows of Argus, did. They had the 3 zones, and they were all kind of fell corrupted, but they had different aesthetics to them. And
Mm-hmm.
the highlight, like the seat of the old capital, was actually like less fell tainted and more. It was actually kind of pretty. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
it had. I feel like the end of every expansion wants to take you to some like fantastical uh place,
Mm-hmm.
and like Zarath Mortis is like the first ones, and old gods, it's like corruption, and Shadows of Argus, it's like, oh, we're taking you to like this outer space planet, and I thought it looked really cool. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot, again, going back to good aesthetics, a lot of people liked the you know Draenei and Fel themes of the mounts and pets and transmogs. You could get
Mm-hmm.
like the transmogs from all those chests, or the like corrupted Talbooks from the zone.
Yep.
So yeah, I think just people really liked lots of stuff about
Yeah.
this. Like even the story was good. We had that really cool audiobook leading into things as well, which I think is good because like when it's an audio thing, you can you can listen to it as you're doing other
Yeah.
stuff. Um, the raid was actually staggered a bit, which was interesting. Um, so like you spent a lot of time just doing stuff on Argus, and then the raid was actually announced at BlizzCon and came a little later. Um,
Oh
so more
yeah.
time, I guess, to test things there.
Yeah, it was later.
Yeah. But yeah, I think people just really liked this patch. And then as the patch dragged on, and you did less on Argus, you could still work on collecting things, and then you knew the mage tower was going away, so you could focus
Oh
on
yeah.
like gearing up in Argus to go back and like work on mage tower stuff as your limited content deadline thing. But yeah, I think just people were I think Argus was just a really good end
And I think
expansion.
you also ended up being at a point where the artifact power wasn't such a big grind anymore. It became
Right.
faster to play alts as well. It was one of those typical patches where everything was kind of fixed. Whatever,
Mm,
if there was anything that was bad, which was the grind for artifact power, for example, it was at a
yeah.
good place at that point.
Yeah.
So it was really
And
easy
yeah,
to play alts, and that was very relevant for the mage tower, for example.
yeah. But yeah, I just think it was a very good, like, fantastical new zone. Like really big story payoffs with characters that were hyped. You even had like Velen and Illidan that were like polar opposites, kind of teaming up. You had some interesting speculation, with like Illidan and like the Naru that was like so like into wanting to like purify him. So like you got some hints that the light wasn't like perfect, but it wasn't. You didn't need like a PhD in lore to
No.
understand what was going on. You
So,
could just be
yeah.
like, hey, like this is interesting character based, thing. Like Illidan, I am my scars. It's like you just relate to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely it was like definitely like I feel like a crowd pleaser. And then
For
if we go
sure.
back even further,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say we have 6-2, which I guess is almost like the equivalent to where we are now in Shadowlands. How
Because it
Warlords
was
was
the
taking
final.
longer. Yeah, Warlords taking longer than expected. Rumors that maybe there was like a patch that was cut. Like I'm pretty sure Warlords had the rumors that there was like a you know Urel or like Draenei themed raid like in Talador, like more character progression for her. Um, whatever the case was, we ended up with a patch 6.2 instead of a 6.3. And it did feel a little like rushed together, things in 3 acts, and it started off with a lot of potential for, characters kind of traveling back to a weird location and meeting up with each other that we didn't think were possible, with deaths, but they ended up doing that. And yeah, I mean, 6.2 was in Tanan Jungle. It did end up looking pretty cool. There were, a lot of interesting like Easter eggs, but I feel like they weren't super fully fleshed out about like, orcs that were, had like one life in the past, and that now they did something else here in alternate reality. We had the raid. We had the controversial Draenor Pathfinder. People
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
to were upset they couldn't fly, so that was added in 6.2. People were very happy with that, but obviously the pressure leading up to it was not a fun
Not
time.
fun. Yeah.
um,
I think Tanan Jungle was pretty cool itself.
yeah,
There were some interesting rares and stuff. And like
yeah.
the 4 rares that were tied together was also pretty cool.
Mm.
But I think this was one of the first times that we had a big influx of a lot of reskins of the same boring mounts. And
Yeah,
that
like
would,
Warlords
yeah.
definitely had like the vibe of, oh, like here is the same boar that is savage, that is,
Yeah.
4 types of brown covered in, spikes.
Yeah, and
Um,
on top of that, they were just boring looking as well. So even if they weren't reskins of each other, like they were just generally boring mounts, which was a disappointment because I do think that there were some interesting rares and things. Like there was like the Blood Moon event as well there in Tanan
yeah.
Jungle. Like there were some decent things there, but the mount options and there were so many of them as well, similar to how we've seen lately. I guess there's so many new mounts introduced into every new
Mm-hmm.
zone, and all of them just looked like a boar or a wolf or something similar that's like
Yeah.
gray or blue, or another boring color, and that was very dull, not fun to collect.
Yeah. Um, I was gonna say there was also the legendary quest line, which was
Mm-hmm.
pretty interesting. I think how it ended, with trying to get in touch with the elements, but also Khadgar's betrayal. But it also kind of suffered in retrospect from Blizzard's tendency to put a really interesting quest line in and then like make it
Oh, then it's removed.
unobtainable.
Yeah, no, should never
Yeah.
have been unobtainable. Like it was a good
Yeah.
legendary, and just keep it there. Let people
Yeah,
go
it's an
through the store
interesting
whenever they
story.
want to. Let new players
Yeah.
go back and get their old legendary. I mean, people can go back and get Shadowmourne. Why not everything else?
Right. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that like this was sort of like the story of WoD. Like the parts on its own weren't bad, and like the throwbacks to the
Mm-hmm.
old story weren't bad. It just like wasn't fully developed enough. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
missing pieces. Like even in the raid, like you're about to fight the final boss, and it's like, oh, there's Grom. Like weren't we just wasn't he the bad guy? Like why is he here with us? Like I guess he
Yeah.
changed his mind.
Yeah.
Um, and it definitely seems like there was like some story cut about how like Yrel became powerful, or like
Mm-hmm.
Thrall trying to grapple with his identity, or you know Garrosh was killed off super early.
Yeah.
So it definitely seems like there was again like kind of misconnections, like Shadowlands again. Like Shadowlands and Warlords kind of floundered with the connections and character throwbacks, and Legion did a better job with that.
Mm-hmm.
So um, but yeah, I guess for the final one to go back, Timeless Isle in patch 5.4. I feel like people really like Timeless Isle, and it kind of gives me like the most similar vibes to Zarath Mortis, with like the
Yeah.
greenery and like
Greenery.
the
Yeah.
rocks and um
I,
yeah.
I honestly think sometimes aesthetics makes up a lot of what your
Mhm.
experience was. So
Yeah.
even if you have very little experience, just remembering how it looks like feels negative. So, like for
Yeah.
example, I really enjoyed the mod, the first patch. I actually thought it was really
Mm.
fun with the dangers of being out too long and killing things and getting too much of that stack. But because it's so like gray and like dull looking, I feel like I don't miss it. Whereas when I think of Timeless Isle, I am thinking of green and hills and so many different kind of like
Yeah, no,
colorful
it's like a breath of
rares.
fresh air. Like I just feel
Yeah, I feel
like
like, oh, that was so fun.
yeah.
But like if I think about it, I do remember farming the PvP things, and like there were so many grinds that were really rough, and there was some rares that had really, really low drop rates of certain things. So there was a lot of pain, but I still remember
Yeah,
it
like the
very
bloody coin
positively.
grind. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the crab as well. There was a rare
Mm.
crab that then had a rare drop.
Yep.
So it's like a 1% into a 1%. It was really rough to grind for the achievement. But I still think of it positively, and I think it might have something to do with the aesthetics of it, because it's just nice to think about. I think in similar ways, people, when they think about TBC, they think about Nagrand, and people are really happy to think about Nagrand, but like, were you
Mm.
really happy, killing all those animals like 50
Yeah,
different
were you really
times?
happy with the attunements? No. Um
But it's still like nice to think about.
Yeah. again, Timeless Isle also had the problem of we have a cool legendary quest line, but we're going to
And it got removed.
remove it after the fact. But like it was honestly cool. I think the visuals were stunning. Like I'm just looking over the Wowhead guide and like every picture, I'm just like, wow, that looks awesome.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it looks like so fantastical. Like even the BOA gear, it looks really cool. Here's a
Yeah.
picture of some spectral pirates. They also look really cool. Um, the Cloud Serpent, everything just looks so pleasing
Clean.
and cohesive. But you take a picture of them all and it's like, how do we make this or
Yeah.
Sanctum of Domination look welcoming? It's just like,
Yeah.
everything's navy blue. Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. So
Yeah.
I
And
think
I mean,
I think it was really good to make
yeah. I
Zarath
mean, I
Mortis
think
so
Mop
bright.
definitely, like, it's always a thing Blizzard tries to balance. Like, I remember even the patch right before Throne of Thunder. I think that also had a lot of really cool things, like the profession upgrades and like the vault you had to rush through. But I remember taking pictures for Wowhead back in the day and being like, everything's navy blue again and the sky is ugly. And like I was waiting for the lightning to
Yeah.
strike and hit the trees because I'm like, when it hits the tree, this looks really cool for a news post. But when it doesn't, it just like grays
Yeah.
out. So I feel like maybe they learned from that with Timeless Isle. It was also like one of those things in Mop where like all the patches were like super fast after the other. Like Timeless Isle was patch 5.4, but then it just ground to a halt leading up to Warlords.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like they could have spaced things out more in Mop and it would have been better received. And then, kind of like what we were saying about the Warlords and misconnections, like the Timeless Isle itself was cool, but then there was like all this story needed to get from the Timeless Isle
To the next expansion.
and yeah, Siege of Orgrimmar, which was very, interesting raid to how are we like time traveling back and we're gonna have like a trial and like Garrosh is gonna escape and like Jaina is nearly going to die and like Sylvanas is gonna meet up with Barisa. Like all these things happened and I kind of feel like there could have been like that sort of stuff could have actually gone into a patch. Like that could have been like the first patch of Warlords. There was so much stuff going on there. But yeah, also, I mean, if we're talking about final patches, like I think Siege of Orgrimmar was a very interesting raid to end things on. Like I think it had a lot. I think it just was like very thought provoking how we're starting off the expansion, in this beautiful, Pandaria zone, very peaceful, and then we're kind of the bad guys. How we
Yeah.
start having
We're
all this
ruining
fighting.
it. Yeah.
And then yeah, we literally like blow up the Veil of Eternal Blossoms, and then there's civil war on the Horde side, and with Garrosh, Vol'jin, and we even have character development with Varian becoming more like of an astute peace leader over time. We have Anduin going through character development. We have Rathian. Having another perspective on things. So I think it had a lot of interesting things to say. And at the end, it's sort of like, are we kind of the villains here? And where can we go moving forward? So, yeah, I mean, I think that we could have had another patch wrapping the story up and maybe
Definitely just splitting
pacing
it
it
up
out
better.
better.
Yeah.
But
Better
I think
pacing.
that this was again, a really solid final patch that people look back fondly. Maybe with some rose-tinted goggles because it was so pretty, but I think there was like a lot of interesting stuff going on. Oh yeah, also we had like lots of like I know a lot of people were saying that it feels like pet battles have sort of felt like they've been pushed off to the side, but we had the Celestial Tournament also in
That's true. Yeah.
that patch, and like that was really fun content.
That was on Timeless
So,
Isle, right?
yeah,
You queued
that
up
was
over there.
yeah, that was on Thomas Isle, and that was added in patch 5.4.
It was actually a really
And
cool thing because you would go
yeah,
in and you would choose a team of pets, and then you were stuck with the same ones, and you had to like make strategies on how you're gonna use your
yeah,
pets and how you're gonna heal them, and yeah, it was actually pretty cool.
yeah. So yeah, I definitely think that Mop and Legion are remembered the best in retrospect. And I mean that also goes back to how the patch was staggered out. Like, you could still farm for rares or do the pet battles,
Mm-hmm.
do various things as the patch dragged on. Of course, Mop dragged on too long, but yeah, it's just interesting
Mm-hmm.
to see what's remembered fondly in retrospect. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I do think that Shadowlands has, issues as we've discussed several times. I think that the lore of the first ones is a little too out there, and the jailer isn't fully defined as a villain to have a cosmic wide payoff. And I think that smaller stories resonate more with people than like guy we've never heard of before wants to
Yeah.
destroy the world.
Yeah.
But I do think that they are doing some things better than
Mm-hmm.
BFA that didn't have a new zone and had things like corruption in there.
Mm-hmm. Another thing on aesthetics, I just thought about it now, is
Mm.
Garrison. I
Mm.
think obviously Garrison was not very fleshed out, which makes it boring, right? But
Right.
I think aesthetically it just wasn't very interesting. So
No, it
so
was like, super
it was
generic.
boring, yeah. So I honestly believe if everything just looked like more aesthetically pleasing, people would have better memories of it. Because I was comparing that to like a like a player mini progression, I guess, and then comparing
Mm.
it to something like Tiller's Farm. Was it called Tiller's Farm?
Yeah, that was so pretty. That was like, yeah, that
And
was
it's like,
peaceful.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I just think of Tiller's Farm, and I was like, oh, that's actually really nice. And I think of Garrison, I'm
Yeah, and
like,
then like the
ugh.
marketplace with all the NPCs, and you gave gifts to people. It's like I want to log on and give gifts to NPCs instead of like
Yeah.
building a ditch in the snow. Like,
But if you
yeah,
imagine that Tiller's Farm being in a very sunken place, we would probably not have the
right,
same memory of it. And the same with
yeah,
Garrison. Like the buildings look boring. The obviously the mission system was very boring, and we had to like spam it a lot for reasons.
mm,
But just aesthetically speaking, if we could, because there's the small details, like you can change your place to make it Christmas themed or Halloween themed, and those little things, if they were more noticeable, and if the whole place just looked more personalized and prettier, I think that could have maybe given people some better memories of it. Because right now it was just dark and boring.
yeah. I wonder if they just didn't have the tech to pull it off. Because it seemed like there was a lot more planned at first, and then it was like, change things. Also, just like you couldn't really customize it. Like I remember they had, was it like a fountain or a statue, and you could pick like one of 5 things.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, shouldn't we have multiple statues or multiple things to show achievements? Or how come we have a summery looking Stormwind aesthetic or a series of orc huts, in the snow? Like, why can't we have things that are more themed after the various races? Like, I think it's cool the buildings developed like details as you upgraded them, but it just did not feel very
Personal.
personal. I did
Mm-hmm.
like having the followers running around that were talking to you. I thought that was neat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of the Warlords fishing stuff was like kind of cool and complicated as a fun side activity. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
just, another example of like wasted potential. Like it could have gone somewhere. Like it was almost there, but it didn't like it didn't
You can
like stick the
unlock
landing.
your own auction house, and it's a good point
Yeah.
that you made with the fishing as well. There's like a little fishing area there. I honestly think that there were some positives with the garrison
Mm.
that is just not remembered because it just
Mm.
felt so
I also
like
thought it was
boring
cool
to be
that you
there.
can invite people, like if you needed help with
Yeah.
the professional trainer, or
Mm-hmm.
if like you had that like a mini boss that other people needed. So I thought that was like a nice way to encourage people um, working together. But I
Mm-hmm.
think we needed more of that, not less. And then of course it's like, well, we're going to Legion now, so who cares about the garrison? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, like a lot too much work went into that for that to just be like a
Yeah. For sure.
one-off patch. Sure.
Yeah. They definitely need to
Um,
build something like that, like class hall, like those other
yeah.
type of attempts. Make something that actually lasts. That's meant to stay. That's meant for you to go back to build over several expansions. Maybe that has little statues or paintings that represents each expansion, even just your own place. I think
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
definitely something they should do.
I think we should have learned at this point that like, even though like Legion was popular, it had a lot of like one-off systems or ways of developing things that just weren't sustainable for the long term, especially
Mhm.
when it's a feature that people don't like as much off the bat. Like
Mhm.
Azurite just did not sound as,
Yeah.
it gets maligned, but it wasn't, it just doesn't sound as hype. Like having a necklace doesn't sound as hype as like I'm getting Ashbringer. Like
No,
it's
you
just
can't even
hard
see a
to,
necklace.
yeah. So
Like
I
even the
always,
cloak from MOP is better.
yeah. So I do think that you know, maybe they're realizing that just like doing things for one system and having it be temporary is difficult
To
to
keep up.
sustain, especially when
Yeah.
like they're not all like crowd pleaser features.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and it's like, well, if you have something that works, why are we getting rid of it to reinvent the wheel? Like, what if we had the garrison system, but it was tech used for something in Stormwind and Orgrimmar, and it was more, player housing, and it could be built upon over time, as opposed to being in like this AU reality that it makes zero sense to return to ever again.
Mhm.
um,
Exactly.
but yeah, so yeah, I mean, I do think that it's worth checking out 9.2. Do I think it's the best end patch ever? No, but I do think that I like having a zone back, which BFA didn't have, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle, Anduin's story, and I think some of the mounts and pets are really cool, like the
Mhm.
jellyfish.
Yeah. Yeah. The jellyfish was cool. I'm glad you mentioned it because I missed it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Um.
we have one more bit of news. We actually normally when there's a patch, there's like a surprise cinematic, but I don't think
Yeah,
there
we were
are
kind of
any today.
expecting one, but no,
Yeah, I mean,
nothing
we know
today.
that there's some hidden things coming, but I think they're more tied to the raid.
Yeah.
And do keep in mind that Blizzard teased the Sylvanas like grappling with herself one a few months ago, like her consciousness. So,
Mhm.
maybe we would have had that coming. But yeah, nothing too surprising. But we did have a bit of Blizzard news that was interesting, which was
Yeah.
the official Blizzard gear store is back. There is no more Fanatics. It is now teamed up with Legends Apparel. Um, and there are some items already up. They're saying more are coming. Um, some of the items people didn't like are gone, like the jerseys that were like branded as low quality. But there are some new things like Blizzard collectible pin series, which is interesting because
Welcome
we
to the
didn't have a
world of.
BlizzCon line this past year, so maybe they're like, oh, we have to, we got to sell these things we made that we couldn't use.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Maybe they were planning it as a as an event thing, but then
yeah, like I'm seeing Covenant Leaders collector edition pins that weren't
yeah.
on sale before, and it feels a little delayed to do that, but that could be COVID and shipping delays. Like I remember
Mhm.
at the end of BFA, they finally had like Jaina and Sylvanas figurines, and I'm like, we're in patch 8.3 now.
It's a bit late, but
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, they have some sort of escape room box. They've got some new artwork of one of Sylvanas and one of Tyrande, but the store does seem very incomplete right now. Um,
Mhm.
because I'm looking at this and they only have if you go to like the plushie section, they only have one plush for sale total.
One plush.
And I'm like, that
Yeah.
seems a little, yeah. Or like they only have two figurines, they don't have any Funko Pops. Oh wait, they do. Never mind. I clicked on the wrong. Oh wait. Oh, they have one Funko Pop, so that seems like incomplete as well.
Mhm.
um,
Here's the
but
one
yeah, I mean,
plush.
yeah, I know that the pins seem interesting, and they have some stuff like a Diablo Resurrected pin, like Diablo Immortal pin.
Mhm.
Some new pins that are interesting. But yeah, I mean, obviously, people didn't like Fnatic, so hopefully this is a better experience. Some people feel a little like, I guess, disappointed that stuff is more expensive, but keep in mind that Fanatics was like hugely discounting things, I guess, when they thought they were shutting down. Um,
Oh. Mhm.
so, but yeah, It's yeah, I think people are just happy it's not on Fanatics, but here's hoping this is a better experience for players, and we have some more things besides one plushie on sale.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Just a couple more than one would be great.
yeah. There was like that blue Pepe that went on sale around the time of the lawsuit, and like I forgot to get it, and now it's not on sale. So I'm like, oh, it would be nice to have a Pepe.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Also, yeah, just looking at the
Oh, more
art, I'm
Pepes.
seeing. Yeah.
Should be a Valentine's
seeing,
Pepe. Yeah, go,
Yeah,
sorry.
there's a lot more things. Like there's like a Winter Queen artwork, and I'm like, why wasn't this on sale before? Like it just seems so random.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, this should be. I don't know. It feels like I don't like the timing of this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, the store's back. We are working on getting affiliate codes again. It's like another process to reapply, but once we do, it's a nice way to support Wowhead if you buy things through our links. So fingers crossed we can be part of that program again.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Indeed.
I'm checking work chat to see if there's anything else.
New worthy of mentioning, because otherwise we've covered everything we wanted to talk about. So
Yeah.
let's give Park a minute to check that out. And chat, if you guys have any kind of questions or anything, comments, feel free to post them whenever.
Oh, there was apparently a launch trailer that was revealed during the show that I'm telling my coworkers they should post. This is not as long as it's only 1 minute long, so I think we can show this, Annie, if you want to.
Sure. Mm-hmm. A launch trailer. Okay. Let's quickly get this down. Oh. So is it probably a trailer of the main features of the patch?
It's more like a I don't know, like a movie trailer, like characters yelling at each other, like
okay.
immersive. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, let me see. Open folder. Put this here. Okay, for some reason I can't find the file. Let's see. Okay, I think I've got it. The file type seems a bit off, but maybe it works anyways. So let's try to jump into it, and hopefully it works. Are you ready for that, Perk?
Yeah, I was actually just listening to it, so I'm good.
Okay, awesome. Let's go.
Yeah.
Your reality ends here. Your fate is sealed.
Fate is ours to determine. We will set things right.
Go through the gateway, now! Death awaits you.
Should we fail, all reality will pay the price. Come, their secrets can guide our way forward.
The way is open. Death claims the soul of your world. All that you see, all that you know, will be undone. Bear witness, mortals. eternity's end.
Oh, we're muted. Okay, there we go. Cool. Well, there it is.
Yeah.
Live news, a launch trailer. Straight up.
So yeah, I thought it would have like big movie trailer vibes. Like with pounding music and getting people hyped up for it. I assume that this will be something that's going to play on the launcher or the background of the WoW homepage, or like will be used in advertisements if you're watching other stuff on YouTube. And yeah, I mean, it got the main points across. They wanted to highlight like the shock value of us fighting Anduin, as well as the jailer. Cute things like Pokopok.
Yeah.
Um, and I noticed that there was a lot of shots of characters from 4 different covenants working together, as well as Alliance and Horde. And they've got that like new catchphrase, like "rally as one,"
Yep.
which is like, I think they're trying to hint like teamwork, working together, cross factions at some point soon. So the emphasis was definitely more on fighting the bigger evil as opposed to fighting ourselves, which I think just narratively always it's an easier sell in these like big picture
For sure.
trailers.
For sure. And it's going to be a good hint towards Alliance and Horde actually working together in the next patch after that.
I need to maybe take a closer look and rewatch it, but I was looking to see if there were any like notable moments that stood out that we hadn't seen yet. Like I remember for 9-1, there were a few shots of like Tyrande looking really badass, and it turned out that was from her duel with Sylvanas. But I didn't see any similar teasers in this one. It was more just straight like like cool action shots or things we saw before, or some like cutscenes from the earlier chapters. But yeah,
It did go fast, so it's definitely worth checking again to see if there's more details in it.
yeah, but yeah, of course, obviously, because it's YouTube, so of course everyone has to like leave a comment if they don't like something. It's cool to meme on things, but I did think that it had like movie trailer vibes, and that's what you need to hype the story up. So yeah, I will take this over like BFA, like Alliance and Horde like yelling at each other any day.
Yep.
But yeah, again, we still don't know a ton about the jailer. So I can objectively say like I think that this trailer was like put together well, but also that the jailer's character arc still feels kind of rushed. But those are 2 separate teams working on stuff.
Yep. Indeed.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my bit of surprise news. Not sure if you had anything else.
I actually want to watch it again to get into it more, because as I'm playing it on OBS, I also can't hear it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to watch it separately here without the browser sound getting through, but it's hard to like multitask that way.
Right.
But yeah, I do like that there's a lot of shots of the jailer, and also the shots of the Anduin, and his weapon is really cool. And
Something interesting. We don't have a lot of shots with Sylvanas, so I guess they
That's
want to
true.
keep her story in mystery.
Good point. And did we see Tyrande?
No, we didn't either.
Not at all.
So maybe
Yeah.
I guess they want that to be some sort of big
Like a
reveal
separate, yeah.
between the 2 of them. Which would be
Interesting. Good point.
Like
yeah.
I remember that in the 9-2 reveal, they had Sylvanas in her regular civilian clothes in the background of like an Anduin shot, but it seems they didn't use that here.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
It's a good point. And is this the 118? Would this be one of the 3 encrypted videos that we?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's separate.
Yeah, like I don't.
Because it's a
encrypted things are
trailer.
things that play in game, and like this is like a collage of like the greatest moments from the patch.
Okay, So that's nice.
So.
That means it's not going to count as one of them. But yeah, it's a good point. I do think that we will see more focus on Sylvanas with Tyrande in that case if they got no screen time here, potentially.
Yeah.
It is only a trailer though, so maybe not, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can fit in, and if
Yeah.
you put in too much, people are just like, oh yeah, I saw the trailer that had like Sylvanas and Tyrande, but some like weird robot and like the jailer and the
Yeah.
zone that was in the ground. Like if you have
Yeah.
too many things, then it loses focus. Because like this is meant to appeal to people that have quit, that they're watching a video on a different game, and then like this pops up and they're Rex, and they're like, oh. The jailer has new armor since I played in 2020. Let me check this out.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll, try out the weird zone. It's not dark like the Maw. It's bright. Like that's the audience they're trying to appeal to with this. Not the people that like play WoW regularly.
Yeah.
Since
It's
yeah,
a trailer
I
of
think,
the game.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that is about it. It's nice that we were able to get something live like that, so you can see it ASAP as it comes out.
Yeah.
And I think we'll be off for now, and we'll be back next week covering whatever else is new between now and then. And what's exciting next week is that we're actually going to be in the raid. I think around this time we should already potentially have a clear of the first
Maybe
8.
we'll have some Anduin stuff.
Yeah,
to
maybe we'll
discuss.
have some story reveals then.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So
that's quite exciting. But yeah, until next time, thank you guys very much for watching, and thank you for supporting Wowhead by being here, following the channel, also by using Wowhead, and extra shout out to those of you who are using the premium subscription. They're over on Wowhead as well, and we'll see y'all next time.
happy patch 9.2.
Yeah, happy patch 9 too.
Zarath Mortis.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have fun, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.